everyone, it's Cheney, and today we're going to be making homemade mini donuts using the Dash Express mini donut maker. Let's get into it. I got the Dash mini donut maker from Target, and it was on sale for only about $17, which I think is a great deal. The packaging is really simple. It just came in this box and wrapped in plastic. This blue color is the only color that it comes in, if I'm not mistaken. I looked online to see if they offered other colors and I didn't find anything. And I do like how small it is. It doesn't take up too much counter space at all, which is definitely good when you're cooking and have other things going on. It did come with this book, which gives you some general information and tips for the donut maker, but then there's also a recipe guide that they provided in the back of it. Here's what it looks like unwrapped. It's real cute and small. And then there is a light on the top of it that you'll use once you start cooking, but it's just very simple. And it actually has a latch that locks it in once you do close it down. Since it is straight out of the packaging, I am just taking some time to clean it out with a rag and some soapy water, just to make sure there's nothing in there before I start cooking. It is a non-stick surface, so that makes it really easy to clean. And to dry it off, I'm just going over it with a paper towel. So you can use any cake mix to make the donuts. I chose Funfetti, and all you need are 3 eggs, 1 cup of water, and a half a cup of oil. Because the donut maker is so small, I'm using a gallon-sized bag and I'm pouring the cake mix into the bag, trying to get it onto one side as much as possible, because what I'm going to end up doing is cutting the bag on the corner and using that as a spout to pour the cake mix into the donut maker. It doesn't take long for the donut maker to get hot, so I'm plugging it in after I've prepped everything. The light will come on the top and you'll know it's ready for the cake mix to be poured once the light goes out. So I'm spraying it down with nonstick olive oil, but that's just my personal preference. Considering the surface is naturally nonstick, you shouldn't need to prep it with anything and you shouldn't have to worry about the donuts sticking to the surface. So I'm cutting the corner of the gallon-sized bag to create my spout for the cake mix. And it took no more than 5 minutes for the donut maker to heat up. I don't even think it took that long. It was extremely quick. So I'm going to start pouring the mix into the molds. And you don't want to fill them up too much because naturally, once you close the lid and it starts cooking, it's going to spread. And if you pour too much into it, once you close it, it'll spill over onto your counters. So just keep that in mind. It did suggest in the booklet that it came with to do the middle mold last because it's the hottest mold and you don't want your donut to burn. I didn't do that just because I forgot, but we'll see how that middle donut comes out if it really does make a difference. I would suggest getting some kind of dispenser, like an official batter dispenser or just something else to pour the cake mix into the molds. This is definitely a good trick, but as you can see, it starts coming out pretty quickly and it's just harder to control this way. And it could just be because the hole that I cut is too big, so it could just be my human error. Once I close it, I'm going to let it cook for a few minutes. I didn't know the suggested time, but I want to say I let it sit in here for 2-3 minutes at the most. After about a minute and a half, I checked on the donuts to see how they were looking, and they look really, really good. You can tell they're not done because they are so light. So I let them cook for another 2 minutes, and they're good. It took 3 minutes, 4 minutes at the max for them to be cooked thoroughly. And I'm just sticking a fork in them to make sure. That middle donut did not burn. It looks good. So I'm just transferring it onto some parchment paper. and none of the donuts stuck to the surface at all. They all came off so smooth. So I ended up doing this a total of 3 times to make 21 donuts. It is, again, a quick process, so I don't think there's anything wrong with making multiple batches of it. It's just that I had so much extra cake mix left over after making the 3 batches that I ended up making a few cupcakes also. But if you're dealing with like a family, I think it's perfect because you have just enough mix to satisfy everyone and you won't have anything left over. I'm using cake icing as frosting for the donuts. So I'm gonna take about 2 spoonfuls of the icing and put it into microwave safe dishes. And I'm actually gonna melt it and dip the mini donuts into the melted icing to create that frosting. I set the timer for 1 minute, but I only let it sit in here for about 30 seconds. And once I took it out, it ended up being the perfect consistency that I needed to dip the donuts. So I'm using a fork to take the donuts and place them into the icing. And I'm just covering the top of the donuts, just like you would see at Krispy Kreme or a regular donut shop. But I did notice using a fork that when I'm putting them back onto the parchment paper, I'm having a hard time not taking out chunks of the dough. So you probably want to use a toothpick or just something smaller so that way you're not destroying your donut after you dip it. I'm just doing this one by one, and it would probably be good if you had other flavors like chocolate or cream cheese just to give you more variety. But it's real simple, and again, I just think it would have been easier with something smaller than a fork. So I finished dipping the donuts and now I'm gonna add some toppings to them. I'm just using sprinkles, pecans, and marshmallows because that's what we had in the kitchen. But I think it would be cool if you use other things like caramel, or once you dip the donuts, if you let the frosting dry, you can come back over it and do like a chocolate drizzle and things like that. But I just think it was a really, really cute project that you can do for your family during the holidays, during weekends, just anything.